Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Everyone. Today we're going to be creating a bar chart utilizing CSV data. Let's get started. So previously we actually created up some D3 SVG bar charts, okay, using just some standard data. Now today we're going to actually go on and be grabbing in, let me pull up the data itself so you can take a look, just some simplified stock data. Okay, so again, it's something like year and value. Here you would have your years, so 2016 all the way up to 2021, and again, then we're just having some randomly assigned values. And again, I just kind of put these in just randomly, just so that we can kind of play with it. And this will work with any type of CSV data that you would have. Again, so such as stock data. And first off, let's go on and actually create up inside of the HTML body an SVG, so that we can kind of get everything started up. So let's have something like a width equals 600, height equals 600. Let's just make it a square for now. And then we'll come back and we'll add in some stuff as we need it. Actually, you know what, we're going to need in here a style as well. So let's do something like a bar. We want the fill of the bar in here to be, I don't know, let's get something, we'll pick navy for now, and then we may, later on, we may need to add in some stuff. We'll do that in another episode. We'll make some interactivity and we'll add in some highlighting. So the next thing that we want to actually go on and do is create up some of our standard kind of data itself, okay? So we want to actually grab the SVG. So var, we're going to just call this SVG is going to be d3.select. Here, and then we're going to actually just grab the SVG. Now again, we could have gone on and created the SVG in here as well if we wanted to, but just for today we're going to do something a little bit different. We also want to go on and create up a margin in here, and we'll say that it's going to be 200. We want the width is going to be SVG dot attribute in here. We want the width, and then we're going to subtract out the margin. And then we're going to do the same thing with the height. Height minus the margin. Okay, and so this is going to be a little bit of an easier way for us to kind of access things. Again, just creating up some variables in here as well. The next thing, let's go on and create up our scales. Okay, so we want to create up, first off, we want our X scale here, and it is going to be a scale band. Okay, because again, since this is, if we, let me pull that back up, let me grab the data, just so we can kind of see this, okay, this one. And what we're doing here is, technically what we're going to be doing is this year, since we're creating an SVG bar chart, okay, is, these are going to be just, they're not technically numeric in this instance. Think about these years as just discrete categorical values of the year, and then they have some value. So that's why we would be using the scale band here. Now we want the range. Here will be 0, comma, width. And then we also want to go on and add some padding in here. Let's just do 0.4. And we're also going to go on and create up, a Y scale in here, D3 dot, and here this is going to be a linear scale. And our range in here, again, it will be the height this time to 0. And again, I'm just using this, this var in here to create these, using a comma in here to create everything in one line. I'm just being a little bit more, I don't know, JavaScript fluent today, I guess. The next thing that we want in here is to create up some graph G. So svg.append, append G, And we're going to add in an attribute in here. We want to transform this, okay, using the translate. And then we want to add, what, 100 plus with a comma, plus we want to add in another 100 plus, and then we're going to end that closing parenthesis. And then let's also, the most important thing that we're probably going to do today is actually accessing our stock value CSV. So let's go on and actually do that. So d3.csv. Now, usually we would do something like adding in the auto transform. Okay, so we're wanting to actually grab and make it numeric data or that type of stuff. But in this particular instance, we're not going to do that. We're just going to grab the CSV. And this is actually in data stock values.csv, I believe. Then we need to, again, start our promise with then here, and then we'll create up some function of data. And what do we want here? Let's go on, and first thing we maybe want to do is work on the X scale in here. So we want to set up the domain. And we want to actually, we're going to be using, we're going to map everything out. So data.map, here we want some function of D, and then we're going to have it just return D.year. Okay. And then we want to do the same thing here for the Y scale domain. And then here, this is going to be just a little bit different. We want it to start at 0, D3.max of our data. And again, the function here, D, and again, we're going to want that to return D.value in this instance. Okay. So for example, here, the max would be this 88. Next thing that we want in here, let's go on and append g.append in here, and we want some g attribute, some graph attribute. And again, we're going to do the attribute here. Whoops. And what do we want in here? We want, again, to do the transform. And then we are going to translate. And here we want 0 plus, oops, I want a comma in there, plus height, plus here we want to have a closing parenthesis. And then we want to actually add in a call. And here d3.axis bottom of X scale. Okay, so then we're going to actually be able to, and that needs to be transform. Okay, so actually going to be calling in our X scale, and we're making sure that this is going to be the bottom axis. Then the next one we want to do in here is to do the left, for you guys' left side, axis as well. So do g.append in here of g. And what do we want? We want to just go on and call in here d3.axis left of Y scale. And then we want to format the ticks a little bit differently because, again, we're going to have dollar values on this axis. So tick format with a function of D. And here, what do we want? We want it to return. Again, so I'm assuming that this is U.S. stock market. It's going to be dollars. Again, you want to change this to yuan, yen, or anything else. Feel free to do that as well with whatever value you're going to be having. So we also want to have just 10 ticks. Did I put that in the right spot? I don't think I did. Let's see here. We have domain. Here we are good. For some reason, I believe that I need another one. Where is that? All right, you know what? I think we're gonna leave it. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Oh, you know what? The call. That's for some reason I felt like that wasn't right. So right here, that we need to move down here. Okay, there. That's better. Okay, so let me undo that real quick so you guys can just let me talk about it. Okay, so we have this call. Okay, so we called this Y scale axis left. Now all of this tick format needs to be on this left, attached to this left axis, and this. So all of this is going to be inside of the call function here. Now the next thing that we're going to want to do, all right, is to go on and actually create up our rectangles in this instance. So let's do something like g dot, and you know what? Let me move this up a wee bit for you guys. G dot select all. In here, we want to grab each of the bar elements, and that is, again, what we're doing here is we're selecting each of those call here. So we want to make sure that they're going to be navy, that type of stuff. And what do we want to do? We want to do this for the data. Enter, so we're actually kind of attaching that data. We're going to also append in here a rectangle for each of those. We're going to add the attribute of class. And again, that is going to be the bar, because again, here we're selecting all of the bar class here. Now, later on, we will add in some interactivity and that type of stuff, and that would be right here once we start this section here. But we're going to not do any interactivity today. We're just going to just kind of plot a basic bar chart, and then in the next video, we'll add in some interactivity. So let's go on and add in an attribute here for x. This will be a function d, and we want to return the x scale d dot year for that, and then we're going to add in again an attribute for y, and again that's a function of d. And again, here you could be using in arrow functions and whatnot, but I'm just kind of doing this old school and probably a little bit more verbose way, but that's okay. So let's go on and return y scale d dot value in this instance, and then we also want to go and add in our width, okay, and our height. So let's go and add our attribute of width in here, and it's going to be x scale dot band width. Okay, that's going to be a key thing here. Then we're going to also add in an attribute in here for our height. All right, and again, this is going to actually be a function, and we want to return in here the height minus the y scale, all right, of that value. And again, what this is that all of these bars are technically the same size, and we're going to resize them to the actual size that we want them to look like and be. So this, I believe we should be good to go here. So let's, all right, I have this up and running. And so let me refresh this. All right, and so I am getting an error here of message not found. So let me double check that. Let's check and see what we're missing here. So my guess is it has to do with the data here. So does this need to be this? No. And you know what? Let's also go in and inspect the element, and let's look at the console. All right, so here it is telling me that the server failed to respond, and I have a handled promise rejection here. So the error itself, okay, is coming from our data, and it's coming from this then statement in here. So it's actually, this is where we're actually getting our particular issue. So we need to make sure and kind of double check where each pieces. So again, I believe that it's actually supposed to be that. And let's just rerun this and see what it has now. All right, file failed to load data. And again, it has this 404. Let me maybe reset the server again. So let me clear this here. And again, it's saying it's in here. So let's do python-m here, http.server. Let me run this and go back here to do localhost 8000. And here we're going to go through our directory tree. And I put all of this new stuff. I'm hoping that I put it in the right file. Here. Okay, and so then let's also just double check where else things may be going awry. All right, so let's go on and just double check our file just a little bit more. So again, it's telling us that this localhost here, data stock value.csv is not found. Well, that's because actually it's named stock to values. So let's go on and add stock values in there. And let's refresh. All right, and so good. Now we actually have a plot coming, but it is definitely not what we want. Okay, notice here that we got a couple things that look a little like they've gone awry. One thing is that our lower value in here definitely is not in the right position. Okay, we want it down here at the bottom. So let's go on and look at where we may have had in maybe some typos in here. So let's start out going to kind of just going to the top here and see where things have gone. All right, so our X scale seems to be A-okay. Our Y scale domain still seems to be okay. Now let's also go on and look at our append here, because again, we're looking for this axis scale here. Now, one thing that I've noticed is definitely that this height indicator, this should not be a 0 here, for one thing, okay? And so we are going to translate this 0. We want height. We want to make sure that that's gone. So let's check and see if this changed anything. That did not change anything the way that we thought it would. Okay, so then let's also go through and double check anywhere else we may have had some scaling issues as well. So we also have our axis bottom. That is correct. We have, let me just clean this up just a little bit. I want this to look a little bit better. We have our scales. Now here we also have our call in here. We want this axis Y scale left ticker. Now let's double check and see if anything down here we wound up having a mess up. And I may have to pause here and double check where we may have gone wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we're doing okay. So we have our data, we have our bar, we have enter, we have append, our rectangles, we have our attribute of class of bar, we have our attribute, our X, again, we have our return, scale, X scale, D of year, we have Y scale, D of value, we have our width scale of our band, height minus our Y scale. Okay, so that should be correct. No, it must be then in the top up here. So let me pause just a second and I will double check where we may be missing something. So again, my guess is you guys were screaming at me again, this is not, I misspelled translate yet again. So we'll put in translate there, and if we go back and we refresh, now we actually have our proper bar chart. So let's go on and just kind of look at it here. We have our stock prices in here. We have the years. We have our dollar values. Now let's add in one last thing, and let's actually give this some title. because again, this all good graphs and figures deserve a good title. So let's go up to the top here and let's figure out, whoops, where we would want to put this. Let's put this just right here because this, again, this is kind of just at the top. So let's add a title to figure. So let's say something like svg.append in here. We want to append some text. Let's also add an attribute to transform. We want to translate, there we go, from 100 to 0. Then we want to add in another attribute here. Attribute let's do it at x is at 50. Attribute y at 50. Let's add in an attribute for our font. So let's do font size in here. We want this to be nice and big. So let's say something like 24 pixels. And then the text itself is going to be, I don't know, stock price over time. Because again, I don't know, we made it up. It doesn't really have much of a name for our stock. If we did, it could be, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't matter right now. So, but we've added in here our stock price over time. Again, we could maybe move it over a little bit more. Maybe we want this at maybe let's do 70. Is that too far? It looks a little bit better. So now we have stock price over time. And again, you guys could always put in maybe a year on the x-axis or anything else if you want to. But again, this is just our basic standard bar chart, okay, using D3. In the next video, we're going to add in some interactivity. So whenever we scroll over the top here, maybe we'll have it change color. Maybe we'll add in a tooltip or something else like that. So if you guys like this, please comment, subscribe, hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.